is Tyrone Buckmeyer. I'm the Director of Legal Aid and Counseling Clinic in Grenada. Legal Aid and Counseling Clinic is a multi-service agency that was established by the Grenada Community Development Agency, Grenada, in 1988. And over the years, Legal Aid has developed a particular expertise in working around programs related to the reduction of gender-based violence and support services for victims and survivors of gender-based violence. One of the programs we've run over the years is a Partnership for Peace, which is called Man to Man in Grenada, actually, is a program that we have run consistently since 2005. So as I speak now, we have completed 34 cycles of the Partnership for Peace program. Fortunately, in addition to just Grenada, where we piloted the program in 2005, Partnership for Peace has also been subsequently rolled out in 6 other Caribbean territories over time. So this is a program that was regional in scope from its onset, initially supported by UNIFEM, which eventually became UN Women, and Grenada and 6 other territories have used this program over the years as a very important tool in our interventions working with perpetrators of gender-based violence. So I have been an activist, a human development activist for all of my professional life. And as now as the Director of Legal Aid and Counseling Clinic, our agency is working around these issues in a very focused way. We provide support programs and empowerment programs for victims and survivors of GBV, and we work through the Partnership for Peace with perpetrators of gender-based violence. And the reason we do this, of course, is because we understand that there is a major problem with violence, gender-based violence, intimate partner violence, and other forms of violence in our society. Unfortunately, we know that the statistics tell us that in Grenada, at least 1 in 4 women will suffer some sort of partnership, some sort of abuse, sexual or otherwise, in a relationship in the course of her lifetime. In some parts of the Caribbean, it's 1 in 3 women. In Grenada, as of now, the statistics tell us it's 1 in 4. So that's very, very frightening, because gender-based violence has a lot of ramifications for our society, our healthcare system, etc. And we must do all we can to protect women and girls from this kind of abuse. One thing that we have come to learn over the years is that this issue that we refer to in the work as toxic masculinity has been a great driver of gender-based violence and other forms of violence as well. And this is really where our men have been socialized or taught to believe that, as by virtue of being men, by virtue of having a penis, they have a right of ownership over the persons in their lives, whether those are their intimate partners, whether it is their children, members of the family who they are caring for, and they have a right to be bad and show their badness, so to speak, even in arguments, in confrontation, and in conflict with other men. Many men of my age are now are really what they saw expressed in the society through communal socialization by the men that they grew up around. I grew up in a community that violence against women was a feature of everyday life. I don't know that there is a man in the community where I grew up, 30, 40 years ago, who did not beat his partner. As I think back about it now in this interview, I realize that every man in the village felt if you had a woman, whether she lived with you or not, you had the right to manage her. Then there is the issue of the violence that is perpetrated against young people, children in school, which says to us if every time you are perceived to have done something wrong, somebody bigger than you is going to beat you, as a way of controlling your behavior, controlling the emotions, teaching you manners, bringing you under control, then we are socialized to accept that violence is normal. And especially the pressure to be a man, to man up. The expression has become very popular again. Why don't you man up? Why don't you own your manhood? Now that means different things to different people, but when you kind of just throw these expressions into conversations or sort of as ways of trying to encourage men to be better, stronger, bigger, badder, quote unquote men, then we are creating some of the conditions that lead to gender-based violence and other types of violence. And I think hopefully We've begun a lot of work over the last decade and a half or so in the region that addresses this, and hopefully we'll continue to do so. I was married at the time, and my wife then and I, we were having, a lot of misunderstandings. 90% of them were my fault anyways. But I was unable to cope with it. We were both very intelligent people, teachers and everything, and I was constantly being challenged. So eventually I got physical. But we were always in quarrels and so forth for multiple reasons. And at that point in time when I actually erupted, I realized that I had no control. I had no control of my anger anymore. I personally sought help when the incident occurred, and I got arrested and went to court and went back home and realized that, hey, I'm in the house alone, my family weren't there. So immediately I jumped in my vehicle, and the first place I went was Grenada. I said, listen, you all need to help me get back my family. And a lady that was there, she spoke with me, calmed me down a bit. And then she said, the help that you really need is downstairs. So that's when I came into legal aid and explained what was happening. And then I was put on to one of the representatives at legal aid. Saying it was a benefit to me is an understatement. It really is. It transformed my whole psyche as it relates to interpersonal relationships. I grew up not necessarily in a violent environment, but I was exposed to it at some point in time. The strange thing about it is that I hated it. I really hated it as a youngster. I remembered an incident with an aunt and her husband once, and he was a bit violent. And I remembered going, as a little boy, I must have been about 5, 6, going to the kitchen and picking up a cutlass and giving her and say, Auntie, here's the cutlass, deal with him. That's how much I hated seeing. So hence the reason when, I really realized, when it really dawned on me what happened, I knew that that wasn't a true representation of me, and hence the reason why I sought help. After that transformation process, and I have a better appreciation to evaluate humans. I realize we have a lot of angry people, and not necessarily men only. We have a lot of angry women as well. But I am going to zero in on the men. Men are very angry, and because of this culture that I am a man and I'm supposed to deal with my issues, and these emotional issues are soft things. I'm a man, I'm supposed to be tough than that. Nothing is further than the truth. Nothing is further from the truth, I would strongly suggest that milder versions of the man-to-man program be enshrined in the school's curriculum at the earlier ages. I think that the earlier people get to understand that anger is a normal human emotion, but it's dangerous when it's not managed properly. So if from an early stage in someone's life they can get to understand that, then I think it could make a difference. Men have to be men and not just male. We have a lot of males and not in the true essence men, because I'm a man. Why do I say that? I realized when I faulted and I sought help. I realized I needed help. To some men, that might have been viewed as a point of weakness, but now I see it as one of my strongest points. We have to uneducate, educate, re-educate. Let men get to understand truly what a man really is.